How's everybody doing today? I got something special for you. For those that don't know, my name's Trex. I'm a North American Mobile Legends ShoutCaster for the NACT. I've shoutcasted at M4 last year, or the beginning of this year, and just kind of a Mobile Legends enthusiast. And I think one of the most popular, or one of the most debated questions in Mobile Legends sometimes, at least in competitive, is how different each region's meta is. Who has the best meta, who thinks of things first, and how the Philippines meta is superior, or how the Indonesian meta is superior, or how the North American meta is superior, even though no one ever says that. So on and so forth. And a lot of people talk about how different each meta actually is. So this got me wondering, right? How different are they? So I did some research into the statistics of every major league and tournament going on around the world globally. And if you go on Wikipedia, you can find this information for yourself, the information that I'll be showing here today. And you can see the statistics of what teams, of what heroes each league is picking the most, banning the most, the win rates, etc., etc. So as I looked over all of these things for Philippines, Indonesia, North America, Malaysia, Singapore, Latam, Brazil, I would do CIS and Turkey, but their information isn't out yet. I don't think their events started yet, or there's just no one keeping tabs on those events. I don't know. Anyways, I didn't want to go over everything, so I mainly picked Philippines, Indonesia, North America, Malaysia, Singapore, Latam, and Brazil. What I found out is actually pretty interesting, and I'm going to share it with you guys today to maybe try to quell the debate. All right, guys, so what we have here is MPL Philippines 11 statistics, and a lot of people look at this and they go, oh, that's a whole lot of numbers, guys. That's a whole lot of numbers. But here's the thing, and a lot of people try to look at this board differently. I've seen people look at hero weights, and they look at like win rates and things like that. But honestly, if you want to know what the teams, what the coaches, what the players perceive as meta, it is the pick-ban ratio. Win rate isn't super important. I mean, I get it. And this is actually things that are kind of interesting, because sometimes heroes that people consider very meta don't have big win rates in these events. But the heroes that are getting picked the most and the heroes that are getting banned the most, regardless of win rate, is what the players and the coaches perceive as meta. It is what they decide, right? And whether, for example, just to give a quick example, right? Indonesia, for example, Wan has a 97% pick ban rate. That means 97% of all of the games that happened in MPL Indonesia Season 11 so far, she has either been picked or banned 97%. She's only actually been picked 11 times out of all those games, meaning she is almost always banned. Out of those 11 times, she has only won 27%. Why do they keep banning her? She only used 27%, because whether she has only been picked or whether she has lost whether she has only won 27% of the time, they still perceive her as meta, as prio, as something important. So I think an important thing to do when you're looking at this board isn't exactly to look at win rates. If you're trying to figure out what they perceive, it's not about what you perceive. We're talking about what the top teams in all of the regions perceive as meta. We're looking at how they pick and how they ban these heroes. That's at least how I'm going to be deciding this. I personally think it's the only logical way to do it, but hey, whatever you say, guys. So, first of all, we look at the Philippines. The first 6 heroes here: Joy, Wanwan, Fredrin, Valentina, Kaja, Farza. Those are your top 6, right? Those are what are most likely going to be on the ban phase. And if we really want to get into it, we could say top 9, right? Because that's about what's going to get banned and what's probably going to get picked up front, right? So Joy, Wanwan, Fredrin, Valentina, Kaja, Farza, Glue, Diggy, Fermis. There's your 9 heroes, right? These are the most picked and banned 9 heroes. Right after that comes Fanny, Melissa, Kadita, Yuzong. And there you go. There's your meta right there. There's what the teams consider meta. Of course, when you look over at the percentages, like when you come down to around Fermis and Fanny, a lot of them are pretty even, right? 65%, 63%. Pretty much all the way down to Beatrix here, we're above 50%, so more than half of the games. Beatrix, Lapucho, Claude, all of these heroes up are above 50%, which is a lot, right? Half of the games. That's about 20 heroes. 20 heroes. Some of the things to look at, marksman-wise, Wan, Melissa, and Claude are the three most used marksmen. Beatrix falls a little bit down after that, but mainly it's Melissa and Wan are going to be your prios. Wan consistently getting banned, only been played 4 times in the Philippines. Joy has been played 12, has a 41% win rate. Wan's been played 4, has a 75% win rate. Fredrin's been played 69 times, and Valentina's been played 76. Farza's been played 62. So these are kind of like your most picked. They're not really banned all that much, but they're always prioed up front, right? All right, now let's look at the big difference, because this is actually what I found out, right? I'm going to show you guys something here. We're going to go to Indonesia. Oh my God. It almost looks exactly the same. Wait a second. Wait. I thought the metas were way different, guys. Wait a second. Hold on a second. Let's look at NACT. Wait, what? North America has almost the same exact 9 heroes up front? No way. Wait, you're telling me, guys. Wait, hold on. You're telling me that all 3 of these regions almost have identically the same meta? That's crazy. There's no way. Wait, Malaysia? No, Malaysia's a little bit weird. Malaysia's a little bit different. But I'm just joking, guys. All right. And I get it. Because when you do watch Indonesia, you see certain things picked a lot more, like the Ling. You see more assassin picks. But there's definitely some constant outliers, right? The Joy, the Wan, the Fredrin in all 3 of these regions. Not the Fredrin here, but in Indonesia and Philippines, the Joy, the Fredrin, and the Joy, the Wan, and the Fredrin are all the first 3. The only difference between Indonesia and Philippines in the top 6 is the Fanny. The Fanny is involved in the top 6 of Indonesia. It is not in the Philippines. It's a little bit lower. It's actually a lot lower, surprisingly, right? So the Fanny isn't as prioed, isn't as worried about. It is still 65%, but the reality is this. And people are probably going to try to argue with me and be like, what do you mean Fanny's lower in the Philippines? Blah, 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 blah. But here's the reality, right? It's just not. It's a little bit less prioed in Philippines. Indonesia takes the number 6 spot. It's got an 85% pick ban rate. It's got a 73% win rate. It's doing pretty good. It's only been picked 15 times. Another interesting take, right? Fredrin and Valentina are very prioed in Indonesia. Akaja is also really prioed in Indonesia. It's almost double the amount of prio as the Philippines. Actually, let's look at this. 87%. Hold on a second. Indonesia. So it's actually the same. Here's actually something interesting. It's actually less prioed in Indonesia, but it is picked much more. I mean, it's not as much on the ban phase, whereas Philippines ban the Kaja a lot more. Because it's picked and banned 0.5% more, whatever. But it's been picked much, much less. I mean, it's been banned much, much more. Now, let's take a look at Indonesia. Kaja is actually more similar to the Philippines, where it still has a really high pick ban rate, but it's picked much less, meaning it's banned a lot more in NACT. Another interesting difference between NACT, Indonesia, and Philippines is Joy is at the top for both of these. For us, it's number 2. Valentina is our number 1 pick and banned. Both of these regions have Joy at 100%. Joy at 100% pick ban rate, right? Us, it's a 94% pick ban rate, meaning it hasn't always gotten picked or banned. There's been a few games where it has flew under the radar, did not get picked or banned, which is actually really interesting in my mind. I'm like, who the hell didn't pick it when it didn't get picked or banned? Anyways, it happened. Somehow it slipped through the cracks. They were like, no Joy today, guys. Another interesting thing is North America, no hero actually has 100% pick ban rate, meaning even sometimes the Valentina falls through the cracks. The Kaja does not always get picked. The Joy does not always get picked. Wanwan is sitting at number 4, which is also really interesting because Wanwan is always top 3 in every other region except for South America, because South America is weird, which we're going to talk about them here in a minute, right? Some more interesting takes, right? Frederin's pretty low for us. I think an interesting thing to take here is, as well, I feel like North America so far has really crucially, like Valentina has almost always, it has such a high first pick rate. It is the modern day Esmeralda. If any of you guys watched competitive play last year, like beginning of last year before M4, like beginning of last year and the year before, the end of the year before that, Esmeralda was almost always the first picked hero in like all of competitive play. It was just such a solid hero, and Valentina seems to be that for NACT. I feel like over in Philippines, Valentina is still very proud, but it's a lot more Frederin Valentina, right? Secondary mage for all 3 regions. Here's another interesting outline. For us, it's Farza. Next mid lane would be Farza. Philippines would be Farza. Indonesia is Yeeve, which this is something I find kind of interesting, right? Yeeve is, I was watching MPLID, I don't know if this is something newer, if this is something, because the Farza does have more picks, but the Yeeve is more picked or banned. It's got 6 more. It's not a whole lot. 106, 112, but the Yeeve is a little more proud in Indonesia, which I think is kind of interesting. Let's take a look at Malaysia real quick. Malaysia still prios the Farza. Yeeve is not even on the board. It's not even in top 20 for Malaysia, which is really interesting. Yeeve isn't even close, bro. Out of like 50 games, Yeeve is on the has been picked or banned 14 times. What other mages are before it? Hold on a second. What other mid lane mages? Harith doesn't count. He's a gold lane. Come on, guys. Faramis, Kadita, Farza, Valentina. That's it. Couple mages beforehand, right? Couple mages beforehand. Faramis. Let's take a look at Faramis. Faramis sits around the same spot in all 3 of these regions. In North America, Indonesia, and Philippines. Sits around the same. It's pretty low on Malaysia. Malaysia's weird. That's just the reality, guys. Malaysia's kind of weird, man. Wanwan is the number 1 for them, then Joy, Frederin, Fanny. Arlot is very proud, I guess, right now in Malaysia. Very proud in Malaysia. In North America, we're just like, nah, we don't really care about Arlot. Like, he's way down here. He's like number 23 or something like that. Indonesia, Arlot's not that big of a deal. I guess he hasn't been around the whole time, though. That's another point. I guess we can't talk about Arlot too much because he hasn't been around that much. He hasn't been around the whole season, right? I think so. Has he? I can't remember. Anyways, we won't talk about Arlot then because I don't have that much information. I can't remember. After that, who else? Let's look at tanks. Let's look at roams. Roams for these regions. The most proud roam is Kaja, like we said, right? Kaja, Malaysia, Kaja, Singapore, Kaja. Who's secondary for Philippines? Secondary roam for Philippines. The most proud secondary roam is Diggy. That's actually a little interesting, right? It's not like Grok or then after that, we have Akai, Lolita, Franco. If I'm skipping over everything, sorry, the pictures are kind of small, right? In Indonesia, Kaja, Faramis. Faramis is mage, though, unless you're playing him roam, maybe. Kadita's also played as roam sometimes. Grok. Diggy is not used very often in Indonesia, which is kind of interesting because when we take a look at NACT, we are very similar to the Philippines in a sense of it's Kaja, Diggy, Lolita. Then comes Kufra and Grok. Kufra is actually above Grok. So honestly, though, when I look at when I compare us, Indonesia, and Philippines, I actually think we are closer to Philippines when it comes to what we prio. And I know like a lot of people have been seeing the assassin picks a lot over here, but the interesting thing is like that's just because these other heroes are getting banned out and stuff, or picked up front, and then the assassin comes in. But here's the reality of it, no matter what you say. Malaysia, Kaja, and then we have Kufra. That's actually a new one. So there's another outlier. Malaysia, their secondary roam pick is Kufra. Then comes Grok. Then comes Diggy. So Malaysia is a little more similar to Indonesia, I would say, in the sense of how low Diggy is. Let's look at EXP lane. EXP lane. But and before I go any further, the big fact of the matter is this is almost all of them are exactly the same. So please, please stop coming into chats saying that your meta is better than this meta or this, because it's not really about the meta. The reason why the Philippines win every year is their macro, their micro, their patience. The reason why a team normally beats another team isn't exactly their meta. It might be depth of hero pool, but like what you consider meta is all right here. It's all in the numbers. And I think the reality is all the teams around the world are playing what's good, except for some other regions. Or like some other regions are very different. Like when we're going to look at Latam and Brazil here in a second, and I already took a peek, and it's crazy over there. It's the wild, wild west over there. I don't know what's going on down there. It's very interesting how different it actually is when we look at some of the picks. So let's look at EXP lane. Fredrin is a flex. I don't really want to count him. Philippines, Glue. Glue is like the #1 EXP laner. After that comes Yuzong, Lapu. Yuzong actually trumps Lapu in the Philippines. Interesting. Indonesia. We have Glue once again. Lapu. Yuzong. Arlot. I forgot about Arlot. Arlot's up there in Indonesia. NACT. Glue is still #1. Then comes Lapu. And Lapu's like a much higher on the list compared to these regions. We like Lapu over here. And then you have Yuzong. And then Arlot. Alright. Then you get into Esmeralda. You get real crazy. Malaysia. Arlot is #1. Glue is way down here. Benedetta. I'm surprised Benedetta's not higher on any of these lists. Kind of crazy on like even Philippines. Benedetta's way down here. That's crazy. All right. So overall, EXP lane's kind of the same. Like I said, the fact of the matter is this is most of these are all exactly the same, guys. But we're gonna take one last quick peek at something interesting. Here's Latam. Martis is the most prio banned hero in the North Latam. And if you look at the South, it is also almost exactly the same. South actually looks a little more. So like Latam Super League is broken into 2 separate groups. You have South and North. South looks a little closer to us. South actually looks a little closer to us. North, they're crazy. They got Martis, Kaja, Fredrin, Joy, Brody is up there, Valentina, Lapu, in top 6. Brody's in top 6. Farz is way down here. It really seems like they don't like their mages aren't as prioed. They're much more favored on jungle and roam. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like honestly. And then we take a look at Brazil. Valentina's #1 for Brazil, similar to us. Then 1-1. Fermis is like up there for them, right? That's actually like the hot take for Brazil. Fermis is up there. Another really interesting thing about Brazil is there's not a lot of 90% in Brazil. Like showing they're pretty open. There's not a lot of 90% for us. We only have 2. Indonesia has 4 90%. Philippines has 3. So I guess, no, it's not that different. It's not that different. But I just feel like Brazil takes a big dive very quick. They go from 100 to 98 to 80 to 76, 73, 71. Like they're immediately like Fredrin is only 66% games. And they have like a lot of 20% hires. It seems like in Brazil right now, they're trying a lot of things. I would say that. Like, they're having fun down there. They're enjoying themselves, which actually sounds fun. But yeah, overall, this is it. I think the main point of this video was to show that most of the regions aren't that different when it comes to what they prio in the pick and bans and draft. At least in the first phase, like what the first 3 bands are, 6 bands or 6 bands are, and what the first 3 picks are for each team. It's very, very similar. And like what the prio roams, each position is, it's all very, very similar for each region. If you guys disagree, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you agree, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you saw anything interesting that maybe I missed, or maybe you go on Liquipedia and notice something, feel free to post it down below. This stuff's just interesting. I'm just nerding out, guys. I wanted to do a video on this. It's whatever. It's nothing too serious. I just thought it was interesting. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a comment and press the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day.